Merhaba, my friends. My name is Pierce, and this is my channel, Tales from the Road. Today, you're probably interested in learning a little bit about the amazing and beautiful country of Turkey. And today, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know before you go, in order to have an amazing trip, to discover something new and unique, and to explore this incredible land of Turkey that I love so very dearly. So, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. So let's start with a country overview. Where is Turkey and who are the Turkish people? The modern state of Turkey sits on the Anatolian Peninsula. It borders Greece to the west, Syria and other countries to the east. This really puts it at the center of the world, a place where Silk Road trade has defined so much of the culture and the movements of peoples have defined so much the way that the country operates today. The Turks and their Turkic language comes from Central Asia, and they're the ancient brothers of the Azerbaijanis, the Kyrgyz, and the Uzbeks. As they made their way in nomadic tribes into the Anatolian Peninsula, they were able to take it away from the Byzantine Empire and former Roman empires of the past. This makes Turkey a very modern mix of both East and West, in culture, in religion, and in the way of life. This also overlaps into how Turkey is structured in the different places that you can visit. The west of Turkey is very European feeling, very Western oriented, and a lot less religious than the other parts of the country. Cities like Istanbul and Izmir, the larger cities of Turkey, are incredibly vibrant places to live, to visit, and to meet different Turks from around the world. They're certainly the most international cities and the cities that have the most Western sort of ideals. You can visit the central part of the Anatolian Peninsula, which is very unique, with cities like Ankara or Konya, with the ancient Ottoman heritage that really defines the country itself. The north of Turkey is particular as it borders the Black Sea. This region is very green, very forested, it gets a lot more rain, so cities like Trabzon or Samsun are very different than the central kind of drier Anatolian Peninsula. You'd of course go to the South Turkey, to the most touristed areas like Fethiye or Antalya, where many people from around the world, including Russians specifically, go to enjoy the sort of Greek island feels of this very particular nation. The last part of Turkey that most people don't get to visit is Eastern Turkey, which is incredibly diverse and quite different from the West. Eastern Turkey is notably more religious than Western Turkey. The lifestyle goes back thousands of years and has connections with Middle Eastern roots as well as Caucasus peoples of Georgia, Armenia, and those types of countries. The presence of the Kurds in Eastern Turkey is also a different feel, as millions of Kurds call Eastern Turkey home. It influences the food, the culture, and of course the language, as you'll hear not only Turkish being spoken, but also Kurdish. There are so many beautiful places to visit in this country, so now let's get into some specific practical advice to help you on any trip to this vibrant nation. First things first are visas. If you're going to any country, you're probably going to need a visa, and Turkey is no different. The good news is Turkey is quite open to most countries in the world, so most people will get between 30 and 90 days, not an issue. If you're coming from the United States, you may need to obtain an e-visa, which you can get online. I'll put the link in the description. Or you can get a visa on arrival, which you just show up to the country, you go to the little visa office in the airport, you pay 25 or 30 US dollars, and you get a visa for 90 days. So now that you're in the country, you probably need to use money to purchase things. The Turks use the Turkish lira, and the current exchange rate today is about 1 US dollar to 18 or 19 Turkish lira. It's important to know that Turkey in the year 2022, when this video is being made, is experiencing a very bad inflationary cycle. That means that the currency in Turkey is devaluing and that prices are going up and up and up. That means that the exchange rate with the US dollar is actually very favorable. Turkey is one of the cheapest modern countries in the world that you can go visit, and the bang for your buck is out of this world. That being said, it's very hard for the Turkish people as their money continues to have less and less value. That means it's a good place to spend your money, but be aware that many Turkish people are in a very tough economic time, and that's something to be aware with in countries when you travel in general. Because it is very cheap, you can make a pretty reasonable budget for traveling in the country. You can eat lunch for just a couple dollars now at this point, and you can find pretty good deals on hotels, on Airbnbs that aren't going to break the bank. If you're looking for a budget place to travel, where you're looking for a high quality of vacation or high quality of life as an expat, I don't think you can really beat Turkey in regards to value for price. SIM cards and internet. Getting a SIM card in Turkey is really easy. There's many mobile companies that you can go to and you can get a pretty reasonable data plan for just under 10 US dollars. The internet in many cities in Turkey isn't great, as a lot of the cities are quite old and they haven't installed fiber optic cables. So internet speeds vary. They certainly have internet and it certainly functions, but don't think that you're gonna get the highest internet speed that you would expect in the United States or a Western European country. The transportation in Turkish cities is actually pretty good. Each city has its own network of buses, of trams, even in Ankara they have a teleferiko system or a cable car system. So there's a lot of ways to get around the city. Transportation within Turkey is also quite simple. Every major Turkish city has bus stations that can connect you to any other Turkish city within a reasonable time period. The country is quite large, so bus travel might not be the best way to go about it. I would recommend taking domestic flights on an airline called Pegasus. It's a Turkish airline, so they have pretty fair prices, and you can travel all over the country, specifically from Istanbul, Izmir, and Ankara for pretty good flights. You can think about maybe $50 or $60 for a round-trip ticket to any major Turkish city on Pegasus. The health system in Turkey is also incredibly modern if you do need to go to the hospital for some reason. They have private clinics, they also have public clinics, and if you need to get health insurance for your stay in Turkey, Turkish health insurance is also pretty cheap. I got a year of health insurance for just about $45 US. The private clinics in Turkey can be quite expensive, so be aware of that. That's pretty much the same for any private clinics around the world. The public clinics are free or subsidized, and you can go there pretty easily, but the waiting times might be longer. If you want someone that speaks English, as many Turks don't speak English that well, private clinics would probably be the best for you. So, is Turkey a safe country? I would say Turkey is generally a very safe country. The only place that I've found that's a little bit unsafe in certain areas is Istanbul, as there are some areas near the main tourist areas that we would consider kind of modern day slums. Traveling around Istanbul or traveling around Turkey is very friendly in general. The worst thing that will probably happen to you is you'll get pickpocketed. Obviously that happens everywhere in the world, so I wouldn't say this is a Turkish specific problem. Also for solo female travelers, I've heard from many of my friends that Turkey is totally a fine place to be and it's not an issue traveling there as a female. As you do head east, the conservative nature of the Islamic society does definitely come up. So I know some female travelers don't feel as comfortable in those areas with men sort of looking at them in strange ways, especially when they're not wearing traditional clothing. But Western Turkey is very European and very westernized, so that isn't necessarily a problem. The only sort of scam that I've heard of regarding Turkey is with the taxis. Taxis, specifically in Istanbul and other larger cities, sometimes don't like to take foreigners unless they pay them ridiculous amounts of money and won't necessarily honor the meter. Also, sometimes I've heard that taxi drivers will give you back fake money in exchange for the real money that you give them. Sometimes I find it's best to use taxi apps. Every large city typically has a taxi app. And if not, it's best to just be aware of what you're doing before you get into a taxi to make sure that you're getting a fair price. All right, now that we've covered some practical advice, I can tell you a little bit about what to do in the country. And that all starts with language. Turks really do love when you share some language and culture with them, and they get super excited and sometimes give you good deals when you speak their language. So here are a couple of good words to know on your trip to Turkey. The first one, of course, is hello, which the Turks say merhaba. Merhaba. It's always a good way to open up a conversation. The next is, of course, thank you. Always a good one. You can go formal, which is teşekkür ederim, teşekkür ederim, or you can say teşekkürler, teşekkürler, which is more like thanks. When you're asking for anything, or you put your hand up and you need something, you can say lütfen, lütfen, which means please. And the best thing that you can do, for example, let's say you're ordering a beer or ordering some food and you want one of something, you can say bir tane. It means one, or I'll have one. So if you wanted a doner kebab, which is the delicious meat wrap, that comes off the big doner machine, you can say bir tane doner kebab lütfen. If you say that to a Turkish person, you might get a free chai, which is a nice Turkish black tea, along with your doner kebab. They will be stoked. Turkish is a unique language as it actually comes from the east, so the closest languages, as I said earlier, were something like Azerbaijani, Kyrgyz, Uzbek, and so there's not a lot of similarities with Western languages. Many Turks do speak English, but mostly younger Turks. So if you go to restaurants, especially in smaller towns within Turkey, don't really expect to find people that speak English or another language. So you're gonna have to learn a little bit of Turkish to get by. If you're in bigger cities like Istanbul or Izmir, or the sort of beach cities like Antalya, I think speaking English and finding people who speak English is gonna be quite easy. If you're in the east of Turkey, good luck. The last thing I'll tell you guys is that the food in Turkey is absolutely fantastic. I might be biased because my family is actually half Turkish and I've spent many months in Turkey and I love cooking Turkish food, but in comparison with a lot of cuisines of the world, Turkey has a lot of good things going for it. And it's connected to that Silk Road trade because they have so many vibrant flavors and spices and plants and herbs that they all blend into this cuisine that is very diverse and very, very tasty. So let me tell you a few of my favorite ones. If you want like a local place to go, try and visit a Turkish lokanta. A lokanta is like a place where you get lunch, sort of like a cafeteria style. And this is where you'll find kind of the greatest hits of simple home-cooked Turkish cuisine. They build their dish where you get some sort of rice called pilav, which is normally a Turkish sort of grained rice with little noodles in it. And then you can have something on the side, such as various meat stews, beautiful dishes with some vegetables and different herbs, with eggs, all served up with crusty bread, and the omnipresent soups of Turkey. My favorite Turkish soup is called mercimek. It comes from lentils, and with a little lemon on top, there really isn't anything better on a cold day. The Turkish food is also incredibly vibrant because of the Ottoman Empire's absorption of all of the regions around it. So desserts are really good. You get things like baklava, lokum, which is Turkish delight, ravani, which actually comes from the Middle East. So they take things from everywhere they go. And the main staple of Turkish cuisine is certainly the grilled meats, the different kebabs that you can get, whether it's Urfa kebab coming from central Turkey, a little spicy, Adana kebab, döner kebab, the big thing where they shave it off with a big knife. This pairs really nicely with fresh yogurt and fresh cheeses, olives, and the other fresh products that you can get in Turkey, tomatoes and all of that thing. The whole region is very vibrant, gets really good sun, sits on the Mediterranean and on the Black Sea. It's got the desert to the east, it's got the water to the west. It's got Istanbul being the major trading hub of the entire planet, maybe for, a couple hundred years. So this is really a country with so much to offer, and you can really find it in its food, in its language, in its people, and most importantly in the sights and the vibe of this beautiful, beautiful Anatolian country. As a conclusion to this video, I'm gonna give you my top 5 places to visit in Turkey ranked. Number 1, you have to go to Istanbul. It's an incredible city with so much to do, so much history, amazing food, amazing people, and the Bosporus Strait, which is one of the most beautiful places in the world, connecting Europe and Asia. Number 2, you have to go to the southwestern coast. This is the same sort of Greek island feeling that a lot of people, picture Greece as. Turkey also has these beautiful islands, a place to enjoy the Mediterranean, soak up the sun, and see some of the best views and eat some of the best fish that you can get on this planet. Number 3 is traveling in the east to the old Orthodox regions of Turkey, specifically Lake Van, a beautiful high altitude lake with a beautiful old Orthodox style church from the Georgians in the past. It's a very unique region, very natural, and absolutely fantastic. Number 4, you should go to Göbekli Tepe, which is one of the oldest sites in the world. It's one of the ancient temples of pre-civilization and one of the oldest places you can go flat out. It's an amazing place to get to know history and to understand the things that our world has to offer. Number 5, as a big foodie, you have to visit the city of Gaziantep and the surrounding cities of Urfa and of Antakya. This region is the kitchen of Turkey. The best food, best kebabs, best desserts, specifically baklava, come from this region. And every Turkish person knows that a trip to Turkey without visiting the stomach of Turkey, the kitchen of Turkey, would be a trip that missed something deeper. So that's gonna be it for me. Thank you guys for watching the video. This was the What You Need to Know Before You Go in Turkey. I will be continuing this series for every country that I've been to in the world. So far I'm up to 72, so stay tuned for that. If you can hit me with a like and subscribe, also helpful. And I wish you an amazing and happy trip in Turkey. Teşekkürler for watching, that's thanks, and görüşürüz. We'll see you in the next one.